All right, here we go. Jamie Dhonau. I said it right?
Yep.
All right. I always get nervous when it's I'll say it a strange last name. If it's not like Jones.
Are you calling my name strange?
Well, it's got like a D and then an H. I think it has as many vowels as it does consonants. It's strange. It's not a typical last name. It's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad last name.
Well, I mean, I married it. I didn't end up with it. Mine was much better beforehand.
Well, you could have kept yours.
I could have. But I was in the mood for a change, like, getting a new hairstyle, getting a new hair color,
This is
new last name.
More of a permanent change, though.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, you just have to go into the Social Security office and tell them you want to go back. I mean, it's no big deal.
Okay.
I changed my name in like 13 minutes after getting married. Like all the buildings were across the street from each other.
Oh, see,
it was great.
It's not that easy around here. I remember we got married, and then my wife, she probably spent oh my gosh, I think she spent 5 hours.
It was amazing.
Going in line at one place, and then they were like, "Oh, you needed to go to this other place first." And she's like, "Well, where's that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's over in this city." So then she has to drive 20 minutes to get to. Oh, it was rough. It was
funny because in Pittsburgh, you just have to go get your triple seal, your 3 seal marriage certificate, which is like you walk into the courthouse and you're like, "Hey, this is mine. Gimme." And they hand it across with a sour look on their face because they work at the courthouse, And so they give you that, and then you walk down a block and across the street, and that's where the Social Security office is. So you show it to them. They give you a Social Security card, and then across from the street from there is the DMV. So you just get your license, and boom, you're done.
Oh.
It's all on one street. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
It really doesn't sound like it could.
No.
No.
So if you're going to get married, do it in PA.
All right. So I know that you've kind of, I don't want to say bounced around, because that makes it sound like you can't hold a job. So no, we gotta say this a different way. You've done a lot of different things. You've got Brand Diva right now, and that you're like helping MSPs, IT companies with their marketing. And then before that, you were with a couple of other companies. You did the same thing. Mm-hmm. You did IT MSP marketing, and then you decided you had the same train of thought that us MSPs had. Why am I doing this for 20, 30, whatever an hour when they're making 150? This sucks. I'm going to go do it on my own. And now you're a business owner, and you realize how much it sucks being a business owner, probably.
Oh no. No, I wouldn't have it any other way. My husband was furloughed, and about 2-3 weeks ago, and he came home and he's like, "I don't know what we're going to do." And I said, "I got this.
Good for you.
We're good." So I don't think I would have that stability if I hadn't started this. And I feel good doing what I do. I love what I do. And I wake up in the morning with a clear conscience and feel good about myself. And, that to me is worth more than all the money in the world.
That's awesome.
So, the 3 pillars to job satisfaction are autonomy, mastery. What's the third one? Autonomy, mastery, and it's growth, So those 3 things, I have both. I have all 3 things, I have mastery. I have the ability to grow. I'm not stagnating in one place. And, and I get the autonomy to kind of choose. And the one thing about the MSP world is that I go where I'm needed. So right now, where I'm needed is assisting folks with prospecting, teaching them how to do it. IT professionals specifically. I don't work with appointment setters. I work with technical minds in order to connect, and I help MSPs build a customer service process. And it starts with that very first contact. That very first contact sets the stage for that customer experience moving forward. So it's important to get it right. And this isn't a place we can take shortcuts. This isn't a place where there's room for error. So it's actually really funny how I ended up in here. If you're interested in the story,
always.
So I was working for an employer whose name I will not say.
Okay.
That essentially provided canned marketing content.
Can I say it?
Yeah, you can say it.
Maybe later.
No, I personally don't mind because honestly, I mean, truth be told, in fact, no, yeah, I'm not going to say it.
That's fair.
But what they did was they offered canned marketing content for MSPs at a very affordable rate, which for money for the price, it's the best you can get, for all the tools that they put in your hands. They provide you everything that you need and more. Plus they have somebody to execute it. So you don't need to be a marketing expert knowing timing and, taking an hour to remember to execute this or that, It's already done for you. And for the price for the money, it can't be beat. I mean, when other companies are charging $6,500 a month for this is a small fraction of that. So as far as things go, I mean, they're important. They're an important company to be in the industry, and I'm glad they're there, and I still refer them. But the reason why I'm keeping my the name to myself is because I was working there for, I'd say it was over a year, maybe close to 2, and or I can't remember. Maybe it was a year, maybe it was 2. Not sure. Anywho, so Trump had just won the election, and the country was at its biggest divide. Some people, were very liberal. Some people were very conservative, and the starkness between the differences was palatable. Like it was actually like palpable. And so, there was a lot of really strong opinions that were going around in common day conversations.
And there still are too.
Oh, absolutely. And so I said to him, I said, hey, the owner of the company, I said, hey, these guys don't even know what to do once they get the leads. Like, they get the engine, they buy, they spend the money, they wait the time for, things to get nurtured and warmed up. And then once they have a lead that they want to, that's ready to, to contact, they don't know what to do with it. They have no idea. And he said,
that's a problem.
Yeah. And I said, I think we should teach these folks how to prospect, at least make that first appointment, because they don't have salespeople. They don't have the money for marketing people. That's why they have us.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'm going to go with something, overseas, And I said, well, we're in Trump America. 50% of the conversation is about how America needs to be first. And while, we may not subscribe to that, there's a lot of people that are going to, that it's going to be detrimental to their business, to their brand, by putting that as the only option in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
When we can teach them how to do it. And he says, I don't pay you to think, I pay you to sell.
Oh. Oh. And this is the what? The CEO of that company?
It was leadership.
Leadership. Okay.
I won't specify whom.
That's fair.
Because it's not a far cry to figure out who they are. But I do maintain that they are the best for the money for what they offer. Absolutely. In fact, I still refer my current customers to them when they need something that is robust, has everything they need, and drives itself.
Okay.
So I have no ill feelings towards the company, the product, or brand. I have nothing bad to say. But that interaction left a really nasty taste in my mouth, because here I was, a female in the technology world, and this is what I was being told. Now, I grew up in my dad's computer shop as a child. So, my one of my biggest, Christmas or birthday presents I asked for was the Sound Blaster, the Creative Sound Blaster sound card, because I wanted to play Duke Nukem and Commander Keen with sound.
So you were kind of a computer nerd way back too.
Oh yes, I had my hands elbows deep into it, 286 386, like way back when. And I built my first computer, I want to say by the time I was 11, and I did it in under 40 minutes from just parts at my dad's shop.
I'll tell you, these days, I don't think I could do it in under 40 minutes.
That's because the fingers are too big for the screws.
Yeah, I've got really chunky fingers. I do.
It's the fingers. So my dad was a mechanic, and he actually broke his back. So he went into computer repair. He always liked to figure out how things worked. So that's kind of how he ended up with his shop. And, I watched him over the years, go from this productive shop that had people in it all the time. And then before you know it, the doors were closed more often than they were open, and the lights were one day just went off for good. And it was because he didn't know how to prospect. He didn't know how to contact people. He didn't want to be a sales guy. He didn't want to be, known for that slimy cliche that salespeople are known for, that, they have a goal in mind and it's just to trick you into getting there,
I got to tell you, Jamie, I'm in the exact same place. I mean,
most people are.
Yeah. So I want you to continue your story, but we're going to put a pin in this part and we're going to come back to this. So
I watched him, and I'd been a natural salesperson since I was little, from Girl Scout cookies all the way to, you can't even imagine. Like, you gave me something to sell and I could sell it.
Okay.
It was just a natural talent I had. So when I was working for this company, I was calling MSPs, booking appointments and selling them. And you know how hard it is to sell a managed service provider owner.
We don't like being called by the vendors.
Right.
We hate it.
Why is that?
Because so many reasons. If we were interested, we'd call you.
Right. But how do you know if you're interested in something if you don't know it's there? It's like, how do you know how big the room is if you don't have a flashlight, there's no windows, and all you do is walk in a door?
Okay, that's fair. And I'm not even going to name a name, okay? There are companies out there that, like, if you're an MSP, you know the company, unless you legit are really bad at what you do. So, RMMs and PSAs, like the big players out there, and they'll still call people.
Oh, yeah.
Like ridiculous amounts of calling.
Well, and that's the thing. There's a lot of value that they can provide. Like right now, I received a call from I guess it's a VAR, it's an indirect reseller, for one of my clients. And, they called to tell me that they were doing free E1 licenses for people, free teams for a period of time. And it was a pretty decent period of time. So, those calls are important, and having that and allowing that conversation to take place is just as valuable to you as a managed service provider as it is to them to communicate it to you, because you may be missing out on free E1 licenses if you don't pick up the phone. But the reason why you don't is because you are so tired of being hustled. You have things to do. You got people to see. You got places to go, and you've got work, service, or you got tickets to close. And those things are all well and good, but it's about the person who's reaching out and how they do it.
Okay. So you're saying if they didn't sound like a sleazeball, that I wouldn't have a problem with them calling me?
If I got you to laugh in the first 5 to 10 seconds, would you have a problem with talking to me?
Yes.
You would have a problem talking to me?
I don't know. I think I guess I don't know how to answer that question, because
Well, you're not going to laugh wryly. I mean, you're going to laugh genuinely because because I obviously disarmed you to get you to laugh. You don't just laugh like a silly person because
Well, that's
you're
fair.
sarcastic. So if I can get you to laugh in the first 10 to 15 seconds, then I've disarmed you and made you feel like I'm not going to hustle you, right? And it's all about communicating that.
And see, and that's where I think I'm weird enough to think, oh, they're trying to disarm me. Now they're really trying to hustle me. That's where my brain goes, though. Like because I'll start to like feel the tactic being used.
What do you have to lose?
I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of my life that I could be putting towards tickets.
Not really.
That's what we're always thinking.
The reason why I say that is because you have the power to hang up the phone.
I do.
If you disengage and you disarm, you can get to their motive much quicker to see if you're being hustled. But if you put a giant wall, you're making them work, which is not beneficial for you. It's not beneficial for them. And it creates its own tension as the recipient of the call. And you're creating your own tension. So what I'm saying is if you disarm, you can hang up the phone knowing that the stakes are very low. So I just want to clarify, when you're saying that one company calls me for the 7th time this week, instead of saying, bro, can you just stop calling me, that I should actually let them... Do you think that person wants to call you 7 times? They pick up the phone and the call reluctance is massive. They literally they jump over the biggest hurdle in the world to pick up that phone for the 7th time because, God damn it, they got to call you a 7th time and they know how much you hate it.
See, I sometimes wonder if they actually know how much we hate it.
Oh, they do. In fact, I have stats from the Behavioral Sciences Research Center, I want to say it is, that state that 60% of owners said they didn't do business with a salesperson because they didn't, well, 45% said that they didn't call enough. And they didn't ask for the appointment. And the reason why is because we treat people the way we think they're going to treat them in order to expedite. But the psychology of that is meaningless because here's my point. The point that I'm trying to make is if I call you and I say, by the way, is swearing sans F-bombs okay?
We'll live.
Okay.
We're all adults.
So if I call you and I say, hey, is this Steve? You say what?
I don't know. It depends on who's calling.
Don't worry. I'm not calling to sell you a bunch of shit you don't want or need, okay?
Oh, all right. Well then, yeah. Then it depends. Are you a collections department from somewhere?
I'm very pleased to say I'm not.
All right. Let's get this over with, mysterious woman on the other end of this phone call.
So at that point, I've reassured you that I'm not calling to sell you a bunch of junk you don't want or need. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't need it, you're not going to buy it. But the information as to the fact that it's out there is invaluable of its own, because you as an MSP owner, you don't have the time to trudge through the various vendors and figure out what's good about this marketing company or that marketing company and what the differences are between this appointment setting company and that one and da-da-da-da-da. Just like the owners of your clients do not have the time to research the managed service providers in their neighborhood. They don't even understand the industry well enough to ask the right questions. They don't even know what to ask. So what they need is somebody who they can trust that is going to say, you know what? I'm not going to sell you a bunch of junk you don't want or need, because at the end of the day, selling you crap you don't need makes my stack more complicated and makes my job harder. So it does not benefit anybody, including numero uno, for me to sell you junk you don't need.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that the truth?
I mean, yes, it is the truth. We don't think of that because we assume if it's not currently in our collection of stuff we provide, it's all junk we don't need.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that, quite honestly, is, MSPs are busy looking at the bottom line. The good MSPs are looking
You're
at the
looking
bottom
at
line.
your bottom line. You're not looking at your clients.
Well,
Your clients don't know that they have your clients don't know what to look for in a managed service provider if they have a single IT guy who's hell-bent and determined to keep them from getting managed services because he feels their job is being threatened. But they happen to get a phone call from an owner who knows not 60% of owners, which is the original stat I was going to tell you, 60% of owners said that the number one reason why they don't do business with a salesperson is because that salesperson either A, doesn't understand the customer and the customer's industry, and B, another 60% stat, they don't even understand their own goddamn product or services because salespeople are not technical people.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point you've made, because the reverse is also true, that technical people are not salespeople.
But they are. They aren't tricksters. They're not slimy scumballs. So
Right.
You're not salespeople in the common image of what a salesperson is. But you're the Rand Fishkin, the former CEO and founder of Moz. He said, I quote this pretty much daily, but he said, the best way to sell something is not to sell anything. You earn the trust, awareness, and respect of those who might buy. So, you know somebody, let's say you got a friend, right? He's a mechanic. You can't really get the time to see him, yourself, because maybe he doesn't work in your type of cars or whatnot. But you get a quote from your mechanic and you say, hey man, I got this quote from my mechanic. Can I get your take on it? And he says, sure. He goes ahead, he looks at it and he says, you know what? End of the day, man, you're probably just going to need a new engine, right? The mechanic's quote might have an odder end that might eliminate the need for an engine or possibly rule it out. But your friend's looking at it, asks you a couple of symptoms and tells you, hey, I would plan that you may need a new engine. You're not going to fight with him. You're not going to tell him what you think is better. He's your friend. You trust him. You know he's not going to steer you wrong, even if the news is bad. But the reason why you trust him or the reason why you don't argue with him is because you know him, you like him, and you trust him.
Yeah, that's true.
So you've earned the trust, awareness, and respect of those who might buy. So basically, you don't need to be a salesperson. You just need to be a person who knows how to interact with your friends. People don't want to be sold. People do not want to talk to salespeople. The day of the salesperson, and I hate to say it, and I'm sure I'm going to get just destroyed online for saying this, but the day of the salesperson for the managed service provider is over. And that is ultimately why, why a lot of these bigger companies out there, like I was sitting in a proposal with, it was like one of those, like a deal table type situations, with Expedient here in Pittsburgh, the data company. And they had a solutions architect and a sales engineer, outnumbering the decision maker 2-1. The solutions architect was the technical mind. The sales engineer was the salesperson. At the end of the day, nobody wants the salesperson. The salesperson is just the person who lacks the humiliation of being told no. He's not invested. He just takes chances. He just runs with it. He jumps on it, and he jumps on the grenade and protects the solutions architect from rejection. And at the end of the day, the solutions architect is the one that closes the deal, not the sales engineer. It's the solutions architect ability to explain the problem, the solution, and why the solution is the best fit for their needs, nothing more, nothing less. The salesperson is just the pretty face at the table, but ultimately the solutions architect closes the deal. Because why? 60% of owners state that the reason why they didn't do business with a salesperson is because they didn't understand their own products and services. The solutions architect does.
So what you're saying is just get rid of the salesperson because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Just have a
Bingo.
solutions architect be
Bingo.
your friend and sell
Bingo.
the product.
When you opened up your doors and opened up your MSP, why did you open it?
Well, I think most people would say that they think they're pretty damn good at what they do, and they want to make more money than what they were working for someone else.
Right, because they opened up their eyes one day, they looked around and they saw that they could do it better than somebody because they understood something that nobody else seemed to.
True.
It's the whole reason why I opened up my business, because I looked around and I realized there is not one, up until me, person to teach technical people how to cold call. I'm the only person who does it.
Well, maybe as like a service, but I mean, Carrie from Managed
She
Sales
hires
Pros,
them. Those are not salespeople. Those are appointment setters. There's a vast difference.
but she has taught people how to cold call.
Okay. Taught salespeople?
Taught MSPs.
Okay. Well, I have not heard her do it for quite some time.
I don't know if she's still doing or whatever. I just know that.
Well,
I mean, she's not. You're not the first. I mean,
I spoke with her
done it.
specifically, and she said that she would rather put somebody over to me if they
Gotcha.
couldn't afford what she has, because at the end of the day, in order
she
for them to
charges
make
a
the money.
lot.
Well, I mean, and the service that she offers is good. It's worth the money.
I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I mean, it is.
But how do you grow to a point?
For small MSPs, what she charges is quite simply beyond their reach.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense that
how do you grow to a point where you can afford a cold caller without knowing how to cold call?
And that's, I think, the problem that so many MSPs are running into right now is, that's exactly it. They don't know how to sell.
Well, that's why I have my top, the three reasons why I opened up my doors. Number one, I wanted to offer individualized one-on-one cold calling training.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do it at a price even a small business owner could afford, with no long-term contracts.
So you say no long-term contracts. I just want to clarify, is there a contract at all?
Basically, I have what's called a rolling 90-day. So basically, give me 90 days to let me know if, you don't think it's working, and, that's fine.
You have a 90-day.
It gives me a notice. It gives me notice so that I can either try to figure out where the problem is, or end the relationship.
Gotcha.
But it gives, I don't take on a bunch of clients where, my clients are anonymous, or they're anonymous to me. No, I know each one. I know their wives' names, or, their kids' names. I know, somebody's kid's getting married in June, and COVID's kind of really putting a damper on that. I get to know them personally.
How many clients do you have right now?
I'll never kiss and tell.
That's fair.
I usually take on no more than 12 at a time.
And I was going to say, you have I'm sure you have a limit. And I guess that was a better question. What's the limit?
Yeah, right. So, I try to keep it to a point where I can, because once
you get past 12, it starts to become unmanageable.
I do X amount of hours.
Someone.
I do X amount of hours per month, where you get a block of hours.
Okay.
However we use those hours, whether it's putting, I put everybody in the same CRM, that I have a portal to everybody's. I run that CRM. I teach them a sales process. I load their calls. I put templates in there for them to use for emails, things like that. Teach them different processes, and then monitor their progress and show them ways to note. Because the idea is for them to take the reins and hand it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because the owner isn't going to do it forever. But let's say that you get a big customer who can no longer afford, your service, and you have a tech who's ultimately out of work. Instead of letting them go, Why not put the reins in their hands and let them become master of their own universe and gain their own clients and accounts? They're the main tech for it now. They built the relationship from the ground up. They've made the promises, and they can stick to them. They can own them. They can follow through on them, and they will.
Okay.
So instead of having a salesperson, technicians can do this. These are the same technicians that you have contacting your, out there talking to your customers every day. Why the heck would you have a problem with them, prospecting? Are you embarrassed by them that you don't want them prospecting, but you would put them in front of your customers?
Well, I don't know that we're necessarily embarrassed by them.
Obviously.
It's that we're afraid they'll say something wrong.
But they know their product and they're only complicating it for themselves.
That's true. And I think another concern a lot of us owners have is we like to keep some separation between the employees and the finances, if you will. So
well, you don't need to worry about that. That's why you put them in a CRM.
But some MSPs, the employees don't even know what the clients are paying.
Well, and that's a problem that you have with leadership and transparency. I mean, if you don't know your own price, if you don't let your technicians at least know the pricing, then you need to reevaluate your relationship with your technicians and start paying them the way that they should be.
Okay.
Because obviously you've got something to hide, I'm assuming.
Well, I think it's not necessarily something to hide as much as it's the thought, well, if they know what I'm charging versus what they're making, what's to stop them from thinking they can go do this themselves? Just like I did 5, 10, whatever years ago with my old boss when I decided I could go out and do this.
Why is that a bad thing, though? I mean, honestly, how many MSPs go out there and fail?
Too many.
Why?
Oh, obviously because they're not good at what they do.
Or they're not good at running a business. Running a business is different than being a tech. Running a business is different than being a salesperson. You can sell the toast, but you don't know how the jelly's made.
So this is good stuff. I think the thing that I want to go back to is you started with tech as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of got into, when you started your business, and a little bit before that with that other place, those who shall not be named, the Voldemort of.
They're not Voldemort. No, they got a good product. I don't want to say who it was because of what was quoted, because I don't want to give them the bad PR. They don't deserve it.
All right. So what did you do like in between? Because you didn't just like, all right, I'm 18, I'm going to go work for.
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. I actually, whenever I was a senior in high school, I actually worked here in Pittsburgh as a radio DJ. I was a big fan of the local DJs, and I was a ham radio operator, and I really enjoyed doing traffic and things like that, during disasters. I was from Miami originally, Fort Lauderdale, and came here because of Hurricane Andrew. Lucky me, right? So I was a big fan of radio, and so I actually got my first break in radio at the age of 17 years old. I wasn't even graduated, and I actually did one of those high school credit programs where you got credit for X amount of credits for working full part-time or full-time.
Okay.
And I graduated that way, and I graduated high school in June of 2000, but I was actually I was at the board when 9/11 happened. So I actually had to go on the air and tell the world what just happened.
Wow.
And that was a life changer for me. That was one of the most surreal gripping moments of my entire life. Like, we look at COVID and I think, oh my God, I never thought for a moment that I would be locked in my house because, basically Last Man on Earth is coming to life in real life,
Mhm.
You ever see that show?
I did.
Uh,
That's more of a comedy, though, and this does not feel like a comedy.
well, they did die in the year 2020, and it was all a respiratory virus, and the entire world was taken out by it.
Get the fork out of here.
I wouldn't short you.
Oh my gosh.
True story. And go
All
back and watch it. So, so I look at that and I think to myself, the last time I felt that disconnected from everything I knew and everything I understood about the world around me was 9/11, was that moment. And it takes me back to that every time I listen to the news and I pay attention. Like, I keep the stats for the state of Pennsylvania on an Excel spreadsheet because the news just slants everything. So one way or, one direction or the next, regardless of where you sit politically, it's not doing the public any good to, skew the numbers. And to make matters worse, the state of Pennsylvania takes the numbers and makes them, spreads them out as far as they can on pages, so you can't really see the true reality of what we're looking at. But so I go on every day and I have a spreadsheet that I've put together to track day by day what we're looking at, and that's the sort of thing that keeps me sane. But when I looked on, I think it was like March 26th or 27th, and I saw that we hit a 50% increase from one day to the next in infections. It took me back to that morning.
So, were you still in high school when 9/11 happened?
No, I graduated.
Okay. I was a senior in high school when that happened. And I remember I didn't really understand because I didn't have a big family. I didn't know anyone in New York. I didn't really understand how huge this was, other than terrorists took planes and crashed them into a big building. I did, because I
didn't even know what terrorism was back then.
Right, and I mean, I knew that it was a big deal. I just didn't realize how big of a deal, because I lived in Brunswick, Ohio. My idea of a tall building, I mean, our tallest building in Brunswick is 6 floors.
Right.
So I had no concept. Like, I think I'd been to Terminal Tower in Cleveland once before then, and I'd only been on the first, 4 or 5 floors where the mall is. So I never actually went up to the top. Apparently there's an elevator. You can go up to the top and look out, see all of Cleveland from the top of this building. Never done it.
Meanwhile, I was smoking cigarettes at the top of the Triangle Restaurant at the top of the USX Steel Building in high school. So I had a pretty good idea of what 74 floors look like.
Yeah. So I just, I had no concept
right.
of the absolute, just what an absolute cluster that was.
We felt safe.
We did.
We had the reminiscence of the 1950s when, we were worried about, we had air raid sirens, but everything was safe otherwise after that.
Well,
and all the people grew up since then that were around when the air raid sirens were happening, in Japan, Pearl Harbor, and that sort of thing.
I think people feel safe, right? Well, 3 months ago, people felt safe, even with all of the crazy things that are happening in the world. People here in the U.S., especially people like, me and my family, we don't travel. We don't have family overseas. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, okay, so, all these countries have bombs, and North Korea has whatever they have. And, they were testing something in Hawaii's thing went off a few months back, and
I remember that.
But like, I don't feel like I'd ever felt unsafe,
Right.
But once all this COVID-19 stuff started, Jamie, I'm telling you, it really, like, it kind of threw me through a tailspin, because I never experienced anything like this. I mean, nobody has experienced this, but
Well, they actually had. If you think about the Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina, people were falling ill widespread because of black mold in their buildings.
but that wasn't worldwide.
No, and that's why we don't, that's why we don't understand it, but they do. People
Yeah.
from Louisiana know. Basically, we can't. This is the one time when we can't look at it being somebody else's problem, and that's the thing that scares us. I believe that Americans live. We struggle with the lack of verifiable control in our political system and our government. We look for some sort of control. So we practice active daily dissociative techniques where that's not an us problem. That's a Louisiana problem. Maybe their governor should suck less. And then we just we brush it off and we move on. This is the one time we cannot do that. And this is what we honestly need. We need to understand how little control we have. We need to understand how not safe we are, because life is precious. And we spend so much time thinking about, what we need to do tomorrow, rather than spending time with the people we care about today.
So, all right, let's take this back.
I'm not going to say we need COVID. we need a wake up call like this. Not necessarily let's all die of this awful disease. Like, no, that's not at all what I'm saying.
So are you saying that COVID-19 is not the hero we deserve, but the one we need? I don't know. I don't know the quote.
Well, I'm going to modify the quote. It's not the hero we need, or it's not the hero we deserve. It's the one we need. But what I guess I'm going to modify it to is, it's not the hero that we want, but it's the type of crisis that we need to grow as a society.
I'll agree with that.
And this really opens up the conversation for, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but, universal basic health care. I mean, we're the only developed country in the world that does not have any health care. Everything else that we have from the FDA controlling our drug approval process to the pricing, everything else that we do, from HIPAA standards to everything else, is controlled by the government. So why are we privatizing the way it's paid for when tax dollars are going into the way the decisions are made? And the point I'm trying to make is that private companies do not necessarily, we are not benefiting from having private companies having their fingers in an otherwise government-oriented process is our healthcare.
But wouldn't the same argument then be for the other side, the conservative side? Well, why would we want the government to take that on and charge people more taxes and reduce the amount of free market that we have in the country?
There isn't a free market, though. It's owned by the conservatives, if you ask me my opinion. The market isn't free. It's owned by the high rollers in the conservative world, who basically have stock and whatnot in these private health insurers. So at the end of the day, they're just protecting their own assets. They're not actually looking out for us. We can go take a long walk off a short pier as long as their stock prices stay up. And that damages that. So if we took stock market out of the healthcare process, the incentivization of it goes away. You don't have stock on, on HUD. You don't have stock on the DMV. Those are controlled by the government. The passport office is controlled by the government. You don't get stock on those. It's not meant for profiting. Human life is not a place where we should profit. At the end of the day, we are the only developed country in the world. And I will repeat this. We are the only developed country in the world that does not have basic health care for their citizens. The only one. Every other country does.
So
the only difference is,
I remember one of the things that when because here's where I stand on all of this, Jamie. I stand very center.
I'm center too.
I used to be very left, and now I stand very center, almost to the point where I kind of see both sides, and
there is no side anymore.
Well,
if you look at it, there is no side anymore as of COVID-19, because right now we are realizing that the entire country is living and dying on employer-dependent health care. When right now employers are closing their doors left and right, people are furloughed. I am paying for our benefits, Cobra, out of our own pocket because his company has furloughed. Okay? So everybody, and this is a health crisis. This is where we need health care. And right now, all of the employers that are providing the health care are on temporary lockdown where they can't make money, so they can't pay for it. So they can't pay for it. We can't pay for it. If we can't pay for it, then we have a bunch of people who are uninsured going to hospitals, dying or making decisions for their own life or death based on their ability to pay.
Aren't the hospitals still obligated to take care of them, whether they?
Oh, sure, they're obligated. But here's the deal with the. Are you familiar with the master? What's it called? Master price book or whatever. It's like basically hospitals have a book that has the pricing for every code that they put on your insurance. Well, their insurance coding, if you ever look at your EOB, you get a surgery done or something that says, $15,000.
And then the insurance says, well, we're only going to give you $6,000 for this.
No, they give more like $1,500. So the inflated price is what goes on the uninsured's credit report. But the insurance companies only pay the $1,500. They don't get $14,000 sitting on their credit report. No, that is taxes that don't need to be paid.
But that's $1,500 that the hospital is guaranteed to get paid.
Well, guess what? If you are uninsured and you call the hospital and you say, I can't afford this, they will give you the same goddamn pricing as the insurance company, but they'll give it to you off bill as a payment arrangement. Guess what? The price book is fake. It's all just for money. So what I'm saying is that's to drive people to go get insurance to push more profit into the system. And maybe my tinfoil hat is nice and tall here, but why would they need to make this $15,000 price or $16,000 price if all they're getting is $1,500 and they're only putting on, Joe Smith's credit report $1,500 if they can't pay because they called in and made an adjustment? Why can't they just charge $1,500? Because hospitals don't pay taxes.
Not even the private ones?
Hospitals do not pay taxes.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. You write things off like that.
Yeah, I don't know that one way or another. So
I mean, you have a billable item that you can feasibly put on someone's credit report for $15,000. So therefore, that is real lost income. If you really, really, really look at it, the minute technicality, that's $15,000 that they could receive if Joe American pays off his credit, the bad spot on his credit rating and never calls the hospital to get a payment arrangement. So that's tangible income that they could be making. So technically, the difference between $15,000 and $1,500 is a big fat tax write-off.
Okay.
At least that's the way I look at it. I mean, I looked at the EOBs and I've done my research on this, and I mean, it all just, the point that I'm trying to make is that we're, COVID-19 is a health crisis where people need to be admitted to hospitals. And the one major reason why they don't have ventilators and they don't have the things that they need is because I believe it's because they're basically padding their numbers for write-off, and they're operating leaner than they should be. They don't have the supplies that they need because they're trying to run as lean as possible. The insurance companies are pushing them down as far as possible. And guess what? Everybody wants to keep the private insurer in place. Why?
Okay, so let's play a game then. Let's say, for giggles, we get rid of all the insurance companies.
Okay.
And we decide we're going to do some system. So we're going to do what? Medicaid, Medicare, whatever.
No, I mean, basically everybody in the United States that's beneath, the poverty line has access to, medical assistance / full medical care. I mean, growing up, I had it as a kid.
What about people like me and you who were not below the poverty line?
Oh, no, everybody would get it. I'm saying we would get the same thing that the folks below the poverty line get.
Okay, so
they just roll it out to everybody.
So you're saying Medicaid for all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I don't want to say Medicaid because there's that whole donut hole thing, and I'm talking about like actual medical coverage from like.
What do you mean by donut hole?
There's a problem inside. Are you familiar with the Medicare? You're not familiar with Medicaid, Medicare donut hole. Okay, so the way that it works is that there is a coverage period that you get in Medicaid, and old people are particularly susceptible to this because they get. I can get the exact numbers, but it. There's a certain amount of coverage where you have, where like. It's called the Medicare coverage gap.
That's for Medicare.
It's still something that Medicaid has as well. But essentially what it is that, what you pay for your drugs reaches a certain limit and then you get the coverage, but you get part one of like the way that your first, you have to pay X amount of percent to, once you hit this number, and then you have to pay a higher percentage till you hit this other number. And then you get the lower cost afterwards. And that's called the donut hole. And it costs old people, elderly folks on Medicare / Medicaid, $4,020 a year is the size of their donut hole. And when they're living on fixed income, you work that down to a monthly cost. That's a lot of money. That's dang near, I'd say, $375 to $400 a month. People on fixed income have to come up with.
All right, so
and that's why I don't want to associate this with Medicare, Medicaid, because that's the negative connotation that most people get with it. So I'm talking about like a medical assistance type concept where you get coverage.
Okay, so there's the Medicaid, the coverage gap is what you're talking about, where there's the gap of people that could have qualified, but they don't qualify. That
has nothing to do with that.
Well, then the donut hole only applies to Medicare.
Okay.
So I just did some research on it. So Medicaid is
I don't claim to be an expert.
is simply insurance for people that are within that poverty line. They get all their stuff covered. And so how Medicaid works though is, and it's similar to how Medicare works, I think, but I'm not 60 whatever to use it. So with Medicaid, if you make below a certain amount,
the poverty level folks, they don't pay taxes. But right. I'm saying that if you provide that to everybody, you're getting tax dollars from those things.
I understand.
Right.
We're on the same page there.
Sure.
So Medicaid, it's going to provide insurance coverage for everyone, where there's like no copays, no nothing.
You'll still pay copays. Like even in Canada, you have to pay a copay. Like
Medicaid, there's not a copay.
Well, sure.
So they go to the doctors. So we got
most
to make this
simple. Most countries do have
Jamie.
a copay. They do. Most countries do have a copay.
You and I aren't going to solve the problem. I'm just saying, we got to play the game right now because you brought it up. So we're playing.
I didn't bring it up. I'm just saying that COVID is bringing it up.
you turned COVID into your liberal wheelhouse.
I'm not actually liberal. That's really funny.
All right, so
I voted John McCain. I love John McCain. I wanted to see him become president. No, I'm not liberal.
But who did you vote for in the last election?
I hated them both. I hated them both, like loathed them both. So that does not have any bearing on political anything because they are both awful human beings.
That's fair.
I wouldn't put that dumpster fire out if I walked past it for either of them.
Oh, that's not nice. All right, so the Medicaid thing. Let's pretend everyone's paying taxes, okay? And nobody pays a copay. We're just going to make it easy. All right. So with the Medicaid thing, they do still go through insurance companies for Medicaid.
Right, and they shouldn't.
So
like right now,
get rid of the insurance companies.
One of my closest friends is actually working in the Medicare division of the local insurance company here in PA, UPMC, and it's a mess. Like everything that they need to know. Basically, the government is paying them for their coverage at a premium. They're paying the Medicare coverage at a premium to have private insurers take it over. There's a significant cost toward it because they're paying, the taxpayer, the government is paying the private insurers X amount of dollars per person that's on their program or on their Medicare. So yes, I mean, the privatized insurance is still getting tax dollars and they're writing off tax dollars. So it's a mess. And that's why there's no easy answer.
So the million, I'm just guessing here. 1 million people work in insurance, right? Health insurance.
I wouldn't know.
So where do those people work now?
I mean, there's plenty of places you can work for.
And I'm not even talking about the CEOs. Like, I don't care. Those guys are wealthy enough. They can go do whatever they want. They can buy an island and go sip mojitos on the beach.
Well, the people are still going to need work. They're still going to need to manage the call flow. So, I mean, why not?
You got rid of private insurance companies.
No, what I'm saying is they're still going to need to manage the call flow because the DMV still has people that need to answer the phone. So
let me tell you, Jamie, the DMV doesn't do a very good job answering the phone.
Obviously. But what I'm saying is that...
So what you're saying is you want us to go from being able to call, United Healthcare or whoever your health insurance company is, and maybe you're on hold for 20, 30 minutes right now before you get to talk to someone because they too are cutting costs. But if it becomes a government-run thing, now you're going to be on hold for 2 or 3 hours.
That's not true because there's all of these people that are working insurance that can now get government jobs working in that system that they know, they understand, they can be trained, and they can get good jobs that are guaranteed. So yes, that's a much better situation. So while XYZ company,
and who at the government do we put in charge of the insurance?
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying that if there's people that need to answer the phone in every situation, whether they have to do it in private or government funded, there's still people that need to answer the phone. So these people can get picked up by the government for government jobs. So the point that I'm trying to make is there are workforce. It's just, we're just moving it from private to public or to, that sort of thing, which anyway.
My conservative friends have said to me in the past that healthcare is not a human right.
Every other developed country in the world thinks it is. So I'm going to go with what they're doing because we're the only odd man out. That's what I'm trying to say. We are the only country that thinks otherwise.
But you're saying we need to turn this into a government-run thing. That's just making our country closer to socialist.
No, and socialism
is where the government kind of runs everything for you.
Socialism. I'm not saying that I'm politically for or against. What I'm saying is the COVID-19 situation is opening up the discussion that we need change. Employer designated insurance was something that was brought into place. I believe it was, I think it might have been FDR that kind of started that for whatever reason. I can't remember what it was, but it doesn't need to stay that way. Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make is that we have a major problem with insurance right now where healthcare is not, right now, healthcare needs to be a human right, because right now we have a human crisis. We have a humanitarian crisis.
You're
and if
right. I'm
treated
not
it
saying
as
we
a human
don't.
right, we would not necessarily have to worry about if I get, part of the reason why I'm paying what I'm paying a month for my husband's furloughed insurance, my husband's insurance for us too while we're furloughed, which, by the way, I'm going to point something out to you just as a side note. Don't you think it's weird that when I and my husband have coverage, we pay the same price as we would if we had two children in the family, just as two people? In other words, I can have a family coverage, a family plan for two children and pay just a few dollars over what my husband and I pay just as two people.
Right.
Okay.
As you get older, you start needing more and more.
No, it's because they feel that for some reason, childless people get more preventative health care, which makes no sense to me. That's the mentality behind it.
Right,
So
but as you
it was just a
as you
side
get
note.
older,
It was just a side note. So what I'm saying,
eventually your husband's gonna have to turn his head and cough as he gets older.
that's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is that if I have two children that are jumping off the fireplace and smacking their face off a dresser while wearing the Superman cape from their twin size bed, that to me sounds like a higher health risk than, two fully grown adults that don't act like jagoffs.
Kids are resilient, Jamie.
The point that I'm trying to, no, they're not. My husband cracked his head off of like more than a half dozen things as a child. So
look at me, I'm fine.
I'm fine. But right
so,
now,
Jamie, when are we going to have employees start taking care of our car insurance for us? Employers taking care of our car insurance for us.
driving is not a right.
Really?
Driving's not a right. You're not going to get a car for free. You can walk for free. Sure, no problem.
But having somebody replace my liver is free?
It shouldn't be something that you have to make a decision based on price. I've said now 3 times that a side note, and I'd like to get back to my regular, point, because you're kind of putting me up against a wall here on something.
Oh, I just having fun with it now. All right, go on. I'm sorry.
Right now, I'm paying out of pocket for our health insurance, which is
a whole lot of money.
It's $1,000 a month. That's how much it costs us. And the reason why I'm paying that is because I would rather pay what I know it's going to cost me every month than what it could cost me if I need to go to a hospital. Okay. That's the whole reason why I do that. And that, to me, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for anybody. The poverty line itself sits at about, I think it's like $14,000 a family, and we're paying $12,000 a year for insurance just for 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem here? It's too inflated. It costs too much. It needs to be managed better. However we do it, whether it's there's regulations put in place or something needs to change. And COVID is bringing that conversation to the surface.
Well,
that's the point I'm trying to make.
It definitely did here.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't want to get in. I never wanted to go down the rabbit hole of a political back and forth over socialized medicine, because either way it goes, I don't care how it happens. I want to see it changed for everybody.
And I think a lot of us want to see something change, Jamie. I think the other side of the coin is none of us know what to change.
Well, that's the thing. Every other developed country in the world has single payer. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is we already know it works. We already know that it's not we don't need to reinvent this wheel because we
Mhm.
need to make accommodations for a profit system that shouldn't be there. So something needs to change, and we need to stop letting money dictate how decisions are made. And that's kind of where I think we tiptoe into politics, because there's a lot of lobbyists that want the insurance, privatized insurance, because there's a lot of money to be made in it.
Right. So let's bring this back to COVID without the politics.
I didn't want to go in politics.
No, it's
anyway.
okay. It's okay. I kept dragging it out.
You're killing me, dude.
I kept dragging. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. You just. It's so much fun, Jamie. All right. So, COVID-19. Obviously, this has affected your husband. He's furloughed. That sucks. And there are some people that might not even realize this. Furlough is a lot like being laid off, except furlough, you still have your job to come back to, whereas being laid off, you're like fired.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to bring you back if you're laid
and here's
off.
the thing. My husband works in supply chain for retail.
Which is insane.
He works in retail supply chain.
Does he like drive the truck?
No, like he imagine you go to like Rocket Cyber, for example. That's a really great company to bring up. Rocket Cyber, they do the cybersecurity monitoring type thing that you can put over top of your you can put over top of your Automate or whatever. But the way that they work is that they supply the MSPs with the licensing to which the MSPs, which in this role is the retailer, if you will, in my husband's line of work, the MSP would be considered like the retailer who sells to the individual clients.
Right.
My husband is the person who sells the retailers their product to resell to their customers. So he's in retail supply chain instead of being to an MSP. Retail,
it might be a supermarket or something. Right?
Well, they're all wireless. He's all wireless stores.
Oh.
He supplies wireless stores.
So we're talking, I just want to clarify, we're talking like Verizon and T-Mobile type wireless? Like cell phone
actually.
wireless? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So,
really
I haven't
cool
even
product
looked.
too, by the way.
What is it?
He sells a thing called liquid glass, and essentially what it is
I love that stuff.
Yeah, my husband works for Cell Helmet, the company that makes it.
So, I'm a T-Mobile person.
I am too.
So, is that the one that T-Mobile sells?
I think there might be some retailers that have it, but liquid glass is the liquid that you put over top of your screen. You wipe it off, and then it fills the imperfections in the glass. So when you drop it, it's less likely to break. And they also offer a policy that if it does shatter, this is the most important part. If it does shatter, they send you a check to get your screen replaced.
So this isn't a screen protector.
No, this is liquid you put on your screen that cures and fills the imperfections on your screen. That also comes with a policy that if you drop it, they'll send you a check for $100 for one type or $300 for the other type of phones, depending on what phone you have.
All right, so this is not the thing I was thinking of, which makes this even cooler. Can I make a complaint? Can you pass along a complaint to your husband to pass along to his marketing person?
Oh my gosh. It's probably something I've already said.
So I'm just gonna share my screen here.
Oh, I hope that you're about to say what I've said. I hope so, because I would just die.
So I loaded this page up here, right? We'll come back to this.
Oh, you're going to get me fired. You're going to get him fired. You need to stop it.
So on this page here, is he in charge of marketing?
No.
Then this isn't going to get your husband fired. Don't worry about it. So when I loaded this page here, I'm just going to hit reload and see what happens here. And I'm not even going to scroll yet or anything. Let's just.
By the way, I think that's my husband. By the way, that's him. That's him.
Oh, that is funny.
Yes.
It's going to make a liar out of me now. I'm going to load it again. Jamie, I swear to
as long
you.
as I don't get a text that says it's not furloughed now, that it's fired, I'll be happy.
Jamie, I swear to you, when I loaded this page the first time, it started auto-playing both of these videos. I was so angry for a moment there. I don't know if maybe you saw it in my face.
I did see it flit across your face.
I was so angry because it started playing both of these videos at once.
That is so funny.
I hadn't even scrolled. So that is what I wanted to pass along, that it started playing, and now it's not going to do it, and it's going to make a liar out of me. So here's what we're going to do. While I've got this browser window open, we're just going to switch over to this.
I'm updating the website, but yes.
You're updating it?
I'm updating it.
Okay.
So recently I've changed, originally I opened up my doors as JD Business Development.
Okay.
And it was just my initials and the function of what I was doing until I came up with a better name. And Brandiva is that name.
Oh, see, and I thought it was Brandiva.
It is Brandiva or Brandiva, depending on if you're talking about me or the company. I am the MSP Brandiva.
Okay. See, I feel like that's confusing.
I know. That's why I don't use it.
Because I mean,
no, it's just Brandiva. But
it's not like, well, it's McDonald's if you're whatever, but it's McDonald's if you're something like, they don't do that.
I understand. I'm the MSP Brandiva, or Brandiva is more like the McRib.
But they're both spelled the same way.
I know.
All right, so let's talk about your website. I'm going to beat you up now.
No, don't do that because I need to update it. Don't do that.
It's just one thing.
Don't update it.
It's your logo.
Yeah?
Your logo, I would recommend doing.
I've changed it. Do you see the one down at the bottom? The big one?
Here?
That's the one. Yeah. That's the new logo.
So do you have the vector format of your logo, like the SVG or whatever file?
Yes.
Okay. So open up the editable source in Illustrator, and then you got to make sure if any text is in there, you got to create outlines. That way it doesn't do weird things.
Okay.
And then you do file, and then it's like export.
Oh, I know how to use Adobe.
Well, you know what? I'm going to do it not because
Don't you do that?
No, not for you. Because I feel like there are MSPs that need to know this. So I'm literally going to open up.
You can actually use my logo if you want to do it on the screen share. I don't mind.
Can you get me the Adobe file?
Probably.
If you send it over to me real quick, I'll use yours. So I pay for the Adobe Creative Suite. It is expensive, but I'm in it almost every day.
You need to get your Black Friday special, my dear.
What?
I pay $29.99 for Adobe All Apps.
Where do I get it's not Black Friday anymore.
Right. So in other words, if you hang tight and just not do the year renewal, just do the month to month until Black Friday, they do, I think it's like 70% off. It's $39.99 or $29.99 a month. And I basically canceled my plan for 4 days until the special came out and then reinstated it under the new price because
that's funny. I
wasn't going to let them renew me at $70 a month. I'm like,
I don't blame you for that one at all.
Yeah. So, that's kind of why I'm like, that's why I wanted to let you know that is a very special little thing that they do each and every year that is just awesome.
That is excellent information to have. I appreciate that.
No problem. Always, always, always threaten to cancel too at the end of your pricing. Because if you threaten to cancel, they'll put you in a cheaper price each and every time.
So maybe I can get it down to like $12?
No, I think best you can do is the $30 a month. I think that's as low as they go.
That's fair.
How low can you go?
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see. Mm-mm.
All right. So you are.
I do not have it in my Dropbox. It is on my hard drive on my other computer.
Okay. I forgive you.
I can just do the PNG. That's all I can do right now.
I can't do it with a PNG.
I know.
Okay.
Take a look here, one other place.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up in my computer here. I'm going to right click on this file. Open with Adobe Illustrator. And
by the way, do you use Spark?
the email?
No, Adobe Spark.
No, but I use Spark.
Oh my God. You need to.
Okay.
It's
I don't even know what it is.
It's a compact social media marketing tool that you can create all kinds of stuff on the fly. And it takes your brand colors and creates a template of your brand with your logos and the various colors that you would use it for different backgrounds. And it basically lays out nice little combinations of colors so that you don't have to do all the thinking. And basically says, you select a template, you then, take that template and you apply whatever it is you want to say in your stuff. And then you can post it right from there, and it's just amazing. Like,
that sounds really nice.
Even like Instagram, stories and stuff with like things that move in it. It has all of those things. Like, yeah, I can show you some of that stuff too.
We'll come back to that too.
Sure.
So here's my logo file that I have for Adobe Illustrator, and what I like to do is, as you can see, I have multiple artboards. I've got the full color, a black and a white version, and then I've got the full logo, just the icon, and just the text.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie, can you explain why I would do something like this for the fine folks watching?
Why you would do something like what? Specifically the selection?
Why I would have all of these options available instead of just having my logo file. Here's my logo.
That's a great question. So, for example, with my website, I would use the full logo. Mm-hmm. I would use the black one if it's a dark background that has busy color. I would use the white logo for if I have a dark background. And I would use the R on a business card, monogram, things like that, maybe a T-shirt. That's a really great place to just put your little brand thumbprint, is what I like to call it, somewhere.
Or what I like to call, it's not like I made it up, the icon that
it's called iconography. Yes, the icon for your website. The favicon.
Favicon. I always call it a favicon because it's
your
favorite icon. Mm-hmm. It's the fave icon. So, but yeah, the little like you've got your B up as your.
If you go back to my website real quick, you can actually see my favicon.
Yes, I can.
On my tab, where you can see where I use my single letter, and then the other one is typically, that's just like where you need it when you need it. Without the B. Or without the R in this case, that's where I would use the, print only.
Right. So that is why I have these different versions. And I just want to clarify. You said I think you just misspoke because I'm sure you know what you're talking about. You said you'd use the black one on a black background. I think you meant on a light background.
On a light background, yes.
Especially if you could only use a single color, like if you had to do a newspaper or something where it's just one color, black and white kind of thing.
Or if you have busy light colors, like if it's a busy pattern with light colors, you need something bold to stand out. That's where I would use the black.
That's also another good point. So that's why I have this array, if you will, of logos. And then so if I go File, Export, 4 screens, and then I would pick the one that I want, right? So you would just have the one checked. And then you got to do this format for SVG. And when you format for SVG, there's a few options that you got to make sure you've got checked. I just recently redid my computer. So I usually change this to 8. The larger that is, the more accurate the SVG will be at any size. This is fine. Images should be embed. The font should be converted to outlines. And this one should be fine as internal CSS or inline style, whichever you prefer. And then once
can you go back to that?
Yeah. You want to screenshot that settings?
I am. Apparently.
Oh, see, it limits you at 5. So I type in 8 just because it makes me feel better, and it changes it to 5 every time.
There you go.
So yeah, when you export that, you want to export that, like I said, as an SVG, and then because you're using WordPress, you'll need to install a plugin called Safe SVG. Now it looks like you're using Elementor, Jamie.
No, I'm not. You watch your mouth.
No, I'm sorry. You're using Elegant Themes. You're using Divi. Yeah. So
I'm a Divi diva.
I saw the ET, and for whatever reason, I thought it meant Elementor.
That's why I said you watch your mouth.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Your mouth. Bite your tongue.
All right. So here, like if I right click and I inspect the site on Chrome, like you see, I see the ET, and I don't know why I was thinking that was Elementor. I should know better. ET is Elegant Themes. But yeah, I mean, you can typically just like look at the code on somebody's website and
you want to see something really fun?
Maybe, yeah.
Another little hobby of mine. Hit Brandiva Studios.
Brandiva Studios.
Brandiva Studios. I have taken every one of these photos.
Really?
Plus some. Oh, yeah.
You're a photographer.
I am.
So I want to say, Jamie, I'm in the market. My COVID funds. I'm going to be in the market here for a DSLR. I'm going to get a cost-effective.
I don't use DSLR.
What do you use?
Sony mirrorless.
Okay. So the reason I'm kind of leaning DSLR is I'm going to stop the share because I feel like this is going to be a conversation. The reason I'm leaning DSLR is because I know they've got more lens options, at least right now, for DSLRs.
Nope, that's not true at all. I have just as many. In fact, I have more lenses for my Sony Alpha 6400 than I have had on my Canon T3.
And I think maybe that's why, because I was looking at Canon, and I think Canon's mirrorless, they might have like 11 lenses, while their DSLR has like 65 or some stupid number.
Well, what I did was I actually bought a adapter for my Sony. It cost me $140 or something. And what it does is it turned the A mount, which they had a plethora of in Sony, the Sony A mount, to E mount, which is what all of the mirrorless are on. So with an adapter, I was able to get, like, I got a lens that I got one of those 70 to 200 or 70 to 300, I think.
Okay.
I would say it was 70 to 300. Would have cost me, I'm trying to remember, I think it was like $3,000 or something like that. But because I got the A mount with the adapter, I was able to get it on eBay for $300.
No way.
And then the adapter for $150. Yeah. I went with a Tamron, which is the same damn thing as the Sony branded. In fact, sometimes even better. Wow. And I want to show you the kind of pictures I get on this bad boy. Oh my goodness.
Well, I want to talk to you about some. Go for it. But after you do that, I want to talk to you about kind of what I'm looking to do with it, and maybe since you do photography, you can maybe point me in the right direction of what I need.
I think I might be able to help you out with that.
All right. And I think because this will help everyone, because I bet a lot of people are going to start doing this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So I shoot concert photography for the most part.
Fun.
And that's what I really enjoy. I like in motion. I like low light situations. So let me see. How would I do that?
So to clarify, when I look at your studio page,
Mm-hmm.
let me find it. So I do see some nice, like, low light looking pictures, but they still have like the lights on them, like the front lightings or the house lighting, whatever you want to call it.
Oh no, that's meant to be there. Yeah.
So, like, do you know how to take good pictures when there's not much light?
Well, this is not much light.
Well, okay, so
You snate the person's face if it's behind them. You dig?
so here, let me show you this. I cannot believe I just accidentally hit the pause button on the recording. I'm so mad at myself. It was like a split second. So guys, you didn't miss much, okay? So like this picture, obviously he's got the front light on him, and he's got a front light, and they've got front light. And
That's just the regular light.
Right. So I understand, like, it's dark in there, but there's still a nice bright light on them.
Well, I mean, you're going to have that no matter what in concerts, but you need to have your f stop low in order for, like, you have to have a low aperture in order to get there. So you need, you can't use a 3.5 to 5,
Now you're talking Greek to me.
Well, you can't use, like, when you look at the side of your lens, you see F and then you see one number and then you'll see a dash to another number. Well, that's your aperture. That's how small the hole gets, in the shutter in order for it to focus.
I thought that was how blurry does the background get?
No, that's called bokeh.
Well, I thought it was the f-stop that controlled the bokeh.
No, what it does, well,
my iPhone has misled me.
Basically, there's a center point for your photo, the foreground to the background, and it's you're talking about the adjustment of where the foreground and the background begin, and that's where you get the blur in front of the person or behind the person. F-stop is a term that I don't really, I don't really know the technical definition of it. It's more, I've learned everything through practice, and
sure,
I'm self-taught. So, as to exactly how that works, like what the actual term for that is, it escapes me. But I know how to make it work on a camera. Okay. I know what kind of lens I need for it. So, more in practice than in explanation. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
Okay,
and
good.
when I look here, let me do this. I should be mirroring my phone here. So this is a picture I took of my son being ridiculous with some, I don't know, goo or slime or whatever it was. And if I click on this button up here in the top left, it's the F. I can change, like, the depth of field.
That's the depth of field, yes.
And I guess I just always thought this was that F.
I'm not really sure. That might technically be what the f-stop is, but I'm talking about aperture. So, but no, that doesn't make any sense to me, because the lower the number is on a camera, the less light you need for it to operate. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Because if you look at, why don't I just open it up here? I got an idea. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna do a Steve move. And I'm going to open up this bad boy in Adobe. Nice. Yay. Un moment. Adobe Lightroom. My little friend. I might have edited these in there. I think I might have.
So what I'm looking to do is, I want to get I'm going to say DSLR. I don't care if it's DSLR, mirrorless, whatever. I want a nice camera that I can change the lenses. Okay. And there will be opportunities for me to use it here, like instead of this webcam. I'll get something that allows me to hook it up to the computer and use it, whether it's via USB or HDMI. I use it as a webcam for me for these here. But then I also want to be able to use it as an option for some stuff I'm doing with church. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually helping them kind of almost build a podcast studio, because we're stuck doing church in an office,
Sure.
And I think obviously what that's going to turn into is something that I'll then be able to take back with me and translate into something bigger and better for my own podcast. So if I were looking for a lens that gives me that cool depth of field look, and I don't need to shoot much distance, like I don't need to zoom in 57x.
Right. You just don't need a lens to do that. But the camera itself, mirrorless. The reason why I went mirrorless over DSLR, do you know what DSLR stands for?
Digital, I know it's got a mirror that bounces from inside the lens, single lens reflex or something like that.
Correct. It's digital single lens reflex.
So it bounces inside the lens into a mirror, into another mirror, into the viewfinder that you can put your eyeball through. So
right.
I know that like there's pros and cons where like the mirrorless can be thinner, and then the lens is going directly from the lens onto the viewfinder, but
onto the optics.
But there is no like optical viewfinder on most mirrorless cameras.
There is. I have an optical viewfinder.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Because my understanding was they kind of got rid of the optical, and you've got an A6400, you said?
Let me. I can't really see the box from here.
Okay.
A64 or A65. I mean, the box is right there, but I.
Oh, that's funny.
Let me see here. So, I mean, I went with the mirrorless because I wanted less pieces to break with what I was doing. I was jostling quite a bit. And I bought my camera back in 2000. Now, I wasn't even dating my husband at the time. So I want to say it was like 2011, maybe. And then, I wasn't even dating him, at that point. So, I kept the camera for over almost 10 years before I bought a new one. So I went with, something that was going to be more future-proofed, if you will.
Gotcha.
It would last me another 10 years. And I was very lucky that I didn't break anything in the, jostling and things, But let's see here. I want them to, I just want this thing to show me the photos in a place where I don't have all my other photos sitting.
That's funny.
Because I don't want all my photos to be there. Okay. So let's see. Let me do this I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So here's some of the pieces that I've done. Like this one is full action.
Yeah, I see like his hair's got a little blur to it because it's moving around.
Well, you can even see like the filling in his tooth.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of thing you can get. And this was an afternoon shot. Like it was afternoon when this was shot. But Gavin DeGraw was at night. And I got a couple of really great shots of him. Michael Franti was at night, and he actually wasn't on the stage. If you look behind him, Michael Franti is known for jumping off the stage and going into the crowd. I got this shot, and if you notice the rails behind his head, he's about 30 feet away from the stage, and there is no light on him besides what you see reflecting off of here.
Wow.
But,
that's cool.
But you get full detail in night.
Sure.
And what this will do, let's see if it wants to tell me. Let's see, I want to see how I can see what the deets on the picture.
And I don't know this app that you've got open.
This is Lightroom.
Yeah, I don't use it. No, these are just where you edit things, I thought.
Yeah. They've changed the way that this looks, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Yeah, they've got Lightroom Classic still.
Yeah, is this Lightroom? Is this a different Lightroom? That might be it.
Yeah, this is the new Lightroom. You can actually install Lightroom Classic.
I have it. I'm surprised that it didn't open the right one.
So when you shoot, are you shooting in, I think they call it RAW?
I shoot in RAW. I do RAW and large.
So what exactly is RAW?
RAW is a completely uncompressed version of a file that has every last detail in it. Let me see. I might need to just put in.
And then you said you also shoot in large. Is it saving a version of each?
It saves a version of each, but
so
I burned through memory cards like they're going out of style. It's a JPEG.
Yeah, I was going to say large is just a JPEG. At that point, why bother shooting large when you have RAW?
Well, because RAW sometimes isn't like you can't look at RAW as well on phones. Like the nice thing about the Sony mirrorless is that I can actually, if I think I have an awesome shot, right, I can zoom in on the picture using the digital screen.
Right.
But I can also send the image to my phone or my iPad to double check and make sure there's no granular motion. And I can go back to the drawing board if I need to. Whereas I'll take like 40 or 50 shots and then I'll go on I'll push all of them to my iPad Pro and I'll look at my iPad and go, okay, this one, nope, this is the one. And I'll delete everything else that I got around it on the camera to retain the space again. So I know I'm getting that shot as it's happening.
Okay.
And that's one of the big reasons that I like the Sony mirrorless is because I can take a picture of you at like I was at a friend's Halloween party and I took a picture of this couple and they said, hey, when you get home, can you send it to me? I said, give me your phone number. And I just passed it to my phone and sent it to them in a text.
So how does it connect to your phone? Bluetooth?
Yes.
And is there a Sony app you use or any app you want?
There's an app for it that I think they keep changing the name on it, but they tell you that in the guide.
Okay.
I mean, it does what it needs to. I wouldn't use it for anything further than that. Or if I'm videoing, I can pause the video, zoom in with the app while I'm doing the video, while I'm not, sitting at a different point in the room. I don't have to be behind the camera. And I can see if somebody's off camera. Like I was doing a video for a relative of mine who's an amputee. He went back in to have a second amputation on the limb because of nerve damage. And so I was doing a video of him talking about that and his concerns because he works for a prosthetic company. Like he's a salesperson for his prosthetic company because he's that passionate about it. And so make himself more relatable, he wanted to do a video about it. And so, I was able to sit on the left side of the room. The camera was going, told him to look at me and talk to his wife. And I kept going like this when his head kept popping out of focus, because I saw on the phone that he was drifting down out of the screen.
Gotcha.
So things like that make it really good. But aside from that, I wouldn't really use it for showing video or showing photos or anything like that,
All right. So what I'm thinking is I want to get a camera.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you what kind I need, though. Like, I suspect I don't need like the $5,000 super fancy deluxe Sony. I could probably get away with. I guess and here's where Sony gets real confusing, guys. So the A6400 is 3 years newer than the A6500.
Yes, I have the 6400, which is you just gave me what I needed to remember. I have the new one.
So that just sounds batshit crazy to me, because they're going down. It's like when Xbox went from Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox One. Like, you already had an Xbox One.
The 6500 has the A mount, whereas the 6400 has the E mount.
Ah.
Which is why I use the adapter.
So you got the 6400 and then you bought an adapter so you could still use the A mount.
I could use the old lenses from the A mounts, from the original Alpha line, which as you know, there's always an entry-level consumer camera.
Right.
Then there's like there's prosumer, and then there's professional. And the difference between consumer and professional is its sensor. There's a thing called crop sensor or a full frame. Basically, when you have a full frame, you see things outside of where you would see on a crop sensor. Now, consumer and prosumer are usually crop sensors. So you can always take a full sensor lens and put it on a crop sensor, but you can't take crop sensor lenses and put them on full frame, because then you'll see like this weird like vignetting, because it doesn't have the full range of focus.
Gotcha.
So that's why I like the prosumer, because I can use the full frame lenses, and I don't have to pay like, I think it was like $4,000 or something for the full frame. And I'm like, that's like, I don't need a Mark V Canon or Nikon or whatever. And then they got the D series. I don't need all that. That's kind of why I like the mid-level, and that's what I went with. And I shoot professional with mid-level all the time. And I save a bundle too, because I can use the full frame professional lenses on it without having to pay the consumer beat you over the head and rob you for your money prices.
So I see that I'm just perusing the Sony website.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I had something else I was going to talk to you about when we were looking at your site, and then I just kind of squirrel. So I'm looking at the Sony website, and they've got so many different models of cameras here. Mm-hmm. So obviously, like, we can like sort these by price. I love sorting high to low just because I love to see all of the things that are completely unnecessary.
Yeah, you like to see how big of a loser you are the further you go down until you find your camera.
Well, it's not. I just like to see how much money some people will spend on stuff,
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I were a portrait photographer, which I do a little portrait from there and there, but I don't do portrait in a studio. Like, I was at Chris Weiser's event in Phoenix, and one of the things that I did was I offered everybody to take a headshot for them. Sure. And I did it outside, and they turned out really nice.
Nice.
I put a cactus behind them. And it came out really nice. So I do portrait, but I do natural lighting.
That's cool.
Mhm.
So I look at this and I just want to. I'm the kind of guy where I like to pay cash for things, Jamie.
You and me both.
When I go out and I buy a car, I will never buy a new car. I won't even buy a car that's just a couple years old.
I bought a new car first time ever because I was the only person in my family that had ever bought one. My dad used to drive junkers around. So I'm like, I want a new car. I just want to have one once. And I've paid it off since, and I'll drive it until the wheels fall off.
Last year, I bought myself a new car. Jamie, I bought myself a 2006 Honda Odyssey Touring. Now, if you don't know the Honda lineup, the Touring is the top of the line, every single bell and whistle.
Oh yeah.
So my 2006, it has the rear entertainment with a DVD player and wireless headphones.
Oh, nice.
For the kids. I was able to get a Bluetooth thing installed into the dashboard, so now I've got a Bluetooth connection for my phone. I can stream music, I can do phone calls, I can do it all. It's got heated mirrors, it's got heated seats, like it's got features. I've never had these kind of features in a car, and I didn't even know that some of these features existed in 2006, Jamie. And you know how much I paid for that car, Jamie? And I bought it from a friend who loves to buy cars and then like fix them up.
He's like a car flipper.
Oh yeah, this was the one that he had his wife driving around their 4 kids.
Oh, so you knew it was money.
Oh, I knew it was crisp. Mm-hmm. I knew this thing was a nice what in the car industry when they're talking about a used car, I knew it was a Puffs Plus.
Ooh.
So you see this camera right here, Jamie?
Oh, real quick, my husband got a new car. You know what it was?
What was it?
It was a 2006 Mazda 6 with all the bells and whistles.
Nice.
Now, the new car that I bought it before we got married, so it's paid off now. I paid it off quick, but it was it's a 2015 Mazda CX-5 with the Bose speaker, the Bose surround sound, the infotainment system, got the self-leveling lights that go up and down, all the Bluetooth navigation, backup camera. Like I put every feature and bell and whistle I could get for it. It's fully loaded. And that was just to treat myself. I got so you asked me what I did before I ended up doing this. I got a sweet ass commission check from, I was actually working in copier sales for Toshiba, and I got like a ridiculous commission check. And so I got the car like paid off like half of it right there,
Good for you.
And paid off the other half within a year and a half or so. But I was like, I want everything just because it's probably the only time I'll ever do it. So why not do it once?
So Jamie, I got myself a minivan. I never thought I would drive a minivan. And this thing is so nice, let me tell you. And I paid less money than a photographer would pay for just the body of this A9 II camera.
My husband was about the same thing. Like, yep.
Yeah, I paid $4,000.
How many miles were on it?
122 or something thousand miles.
That's about what Mike got.
So, yeah, I couldn't be happier. And you know what? In a few years, once I've got 180, 190,000, I'll sell it. And I'll tell you what, right now, if I sold it, I could sell it for about, not right now because COVID-19, but if I were to try and sell it right now, I could get about 7,000 for it.
That's pretty sweet.
So I could, in theory, sell this car
and make a profit,
and then buy another car off my buddy. And let me tell you, he's got a car that I really want.
What you got?
It's a Volkswagen Touareg. It's the SUV. It's got the V10 or W10 or whatever it is.
Stick?
No. Touareg's an SUV. It's the fully loaded SUV.
Volkswagen's one of the ones that still do stick. Like it's hard to find stick these days, and I love driving stick.
I used to love driving stick. Now I want the car to drive for me, okay? Someday I'm going to have a Tesla, and that Tesla's going to be 10 or 15 years old. because I will
That's
not
fine.
spend $150,000 on Tesla of my dreams.
I would never spend $150,000 on it. I would get one of the new entry level ones for 35 if I were
I
going to do
can't
anything.
fit in it. So okay.
That poses a problem.
So, and let me tell you, I know
I mean,
a
my
lot of
husband
people,
used to own a smart car. Like he went from a smart car to a Mazda.
a lot of people, I'm sure, just made a bunch of fat jokes. Okay, in their mind, they won't actually admit to it, but they did, and that's cool. I'm fat, I get it. But here's
But
why
you
I
would fit in
can't.
a smart car. That's the funny thing.
Here's why I can't fit in a Tesla 3. I can fit in an X. I can fit in an S. I cannot fit in a 3. So my neck, like 5 of the 6 or whatever, however many vertebrae are in the neck, right? They fused themselves together. I didn't get surgery, but they're fused.
Oh,
So
man.
this is my turn radius.
Oh,
So, when you get into a car that maybe the door is like here and you just got to bring your head down. Here's how far my head can go down, Jamie.
oh, geez.
This is down. And this is down far enough that it's actually causing strain along all of the it's not muscle, it's nerve. I've got
I know.
nerve issues.
I have
because
problems
of
with
all
with my cervical spine. I get a vertebrae that likes to pull out of alignment and send my teres minor, major, and a bunch of the muscles into just complete spasm that just give me these migraines up the left side of my head.
So because of that, I physically I went down to Dallas area. I visited my mom, my grandma, and while I'm down there, I met up with a buddy of mine who runs an MSP. His name's Andy, and he picked me up in his Porsche. Let me tell you, it was a really nice Porsche.
Where's he at? Dallas, you said?
Dallas area, yeah. And I don't remember. I'm not a car guy, so I couldn't. It could be a 911 or a Carrera or a
the ones that have numbers just elude me.
I have no idea what he picked me up in. It was a car with it had a back seat. His girlfriend went to the back seat so I could sit in the passenger seat. It took me 5 minutes to get into that car. He laughed and laughed. Like we had a good laugh because it's not because I couldn't fit this way. It's because I couldn't, and it also sucks. I have a really long torso and then like short, stubby legs. So I'm like 5'11", okay, Jamie, and I've got a friend who's 6'4".
Oh my God!
And when we meet up at like a bar, and we sit at the bar at bar stools, I sit up taller than him. He's looking up at me, even though he's got. Actually, no, I think I'm now technically 5'10" and a half.
Because of the neck.
Because of the neck.
It robbed you of a half an inch.
I lost half an inch.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you, every half inch counts.
I have to know a question.
Okay.
All right. Prepare yourself. This is going to take some serious thought.
42.
Are you ready? That's always the answer to life and everything.
Go for it.
I'm a total Douglas Adams fan. Just saying.
Nice.
I'm a total nerd, by the way. Like ridiculous. I could go into that for at least a half an hour. What is if you could go back in time and buy any car that you wanted, and it doesn't need to be the fanciest or the craziest or the most expensive, but if you could go back and buy any car that you may have looked at and you wished you would have, what would it be?
So are you asking me what car I wish I would have bought myself but didn't, and I could have afforded it? Or are we talking money is no object?
Well, why not both? You might have asked that reason because I figured you asked that reason because you had a category for each. So why not both?
I don't. I'm just clarifying because honestly, Jamie, the car I want is a Tesla Model X.
Is that one of the 150,000?
I don't think I need to spend that much on it. Probably 105,000 might be good enough.
You're like, I can shave off a few of the little options.
I don't need ludicrous mode or whatever they call it.
Isn't that from Spaceballs?
I don't know.
You remember when they went into ludicrous speed and it was like plaid?
I don't think I ever. No, I don't. I never saw that movie.
No, what the?
Yeah,
fork?
yeah. I never saw that movie.
Oh my God! you need to. My homework assignment for you tonight is to please, for the love of God, watch that movie.
I'll see what I can do.
It is so funny.
I've already got plans.
It's one of my favorite sick movies. Like whenever I'm sick and I'm in bed and I don't want something that's so insists upon itself so much that I have to pay attention, but yet it's and Rick Moranis is so sweet. Like,
that movie's from the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Was that pre or post Ghostbusters?
I'm not sure. Let me look.
Because wasn't he in Ghostbusters?
He was.
All right. So, and then the other question I have is, do you know what that movie's rated? Can I watch it with my kids?
Oh, absolutely. It is rated. It was from 1987. Hey, Alexa, nobody asked you. Shush. Oh, my God. Why is she talking? I don't know.
I ask myself the same ththing a lot.
Well, she's not even connected to the
Alaska.
internet. She's just a spaz. Like we changed our Wi-Fi name.
Yeah.
We went, are you because our gateway was acting up, so I gave it a reboot. And I changed its name. I changed it from Xanadu to It Burns One IP. I heard that once in the Discord and I just had to use it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Okay, so it's from 1987 and it's a Mel Brooks movie. So it's up there with like the Blazing Saddles and,
Never saw that one either.
Okay. But it still has a 4.5 audience rating.
It has a 57% Rotten Tomatoes rating.
And it is PG. So you can watch it PG, and it looks like it might be on Prime Video. The kids will love it.
All right. I'll watch it with the kids. I can't guarantee it'll be tonight, but I will watch it with the kids.
And they make fun of Star Wars. Like Dark Helmet is Darth Vader.
That's perfect because we've been watching all the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah.
I've been I feel so bad for my wife. She's such a good sport. She doesn't really care for the Star Wars movies.
Oh, then she'll love this.
So for the last 3-ish months, we've slowly been going through the entire catalog. We started at episode 1 because even though it's newer, the quality on that one is still arguably worse.
All right. Well, check this out. You ready?
Yeah.
Paint a picture. You have a guy who's like Han Solo, who's played by Bill Pullman.
Okay.
You have the princess, which I think her name is Vespa.
She looks like a really nice Italian car.
Well, but she's betrothed to Prince Valium, who is boring and yawning. Rick Moranis plays Dark Helmet, which is the Darth Vader character. And then you have half man, half dog, which is like your Chewbacca character, his name is Barf or Barth. Yeah, Barf. And he's played by John Candy.
Oh, he's so great.
He is so great. And it is just, it's got 2,156 reviews on Amazon. And it's got a 4.5 star rating.
Wow.
It doesn't get any better than that. This is a classic movie.
Can you believe Mel Brooks is still alive?
Oh, I can. He's a member of the tribe. His stubborn blood goes deep.
Well, I just there, guys like him, and then there's Betty White.
Betty White is like half piss, half vinegar, and 3/4 go F yourself.
Yeah. But it's even COVID-19 can't take these people out.
No, they can't.
It's great.
They can't. I mean, Boris Johnson come out the other side, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm sure all of my UK buddies are super excited about that.
I'm sure. Charmed, I'm sure.
All right. Well, Jamie, I feel like now is a good time for us to start wrapping up. This has been going for 2 hours-ish.
Can you believe it?
I can't, because we've been having a good time, I think. I have.
I mean, we barely talked about anything business. There is an important thing that I want to talk about, if that's okay. One of the main reasons that I've been one of the big things that I've been doing now with COVID-19 is I'm not so much prospecting right now. I'm not so much doing anything, growth related. The big thing that I'm dedicating myself to is teaching MSPs that you absolutely and positively can, in fact, prospect right now. Believe it or not. There's a way to do it tastefully. There's a way to do it tactfully. And there's a way that you can, right now, this event is going to change the brand. It's going to set the stage for your brand for decades. So it's very important that you handle it right. And hiding and being afraid of being the person who asks them, who calls them to see if they need help, that is the wrong way to look at it. Right now, what these people need is they need people to call them and ask them, how are you doing? You are a business owner. You have employees. You have a spouse, maybe some kids at home. And I'm setting the stage for you as an MSP or you as one of your clients. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, and these people can't talk to their spouse about what's on their mind, what's weighing heavily, because they don't want to frighten their spouse. They want to show that strong face. They also can't talk to their employees because their futures are fearful. They're fearful of their futures, that their careers may be in jeopardy. So right now, you are stuck internalizing the sheer weight of everything that's going on silently, without anybody to talk to, turn to, or gain any understanding from. And this is a good time for somebody like yourself to reach out to somebody like themselves to say, hey, I'm a business owner. I get it. How are you doing? How can I help? Right now, continuity is key. And continuity doesn't start when they leave the office. It also works until they get back. And everybody's going to want to get back to work as quickly as possible. So their business continuity plans need to be foolproof. They need to be ironclad. They need to be intact. They need to be solid. You need to be able to put the weight of their entire company on that plan. And right now, offering them a second set of eyes and explaining, hey, I get it. Onboarding does not make sense right now. I'm not calling to sell you a bunch of junk you don't want or need, because frankly, you don't want to onboard right now, and I don't want to onboard you. That's scary enough when business as usual. But right now, I can offer you a second set of eyes on your continuity plan, just to make sure that nothing's been overlooked, missed, or that you don't have anything unexpected happen, because we want to get our community back to work as fast as we can. And that's our way of giving back to our community. That is the talk track that the managed service provider needs to use right now in COVID-19. And they need to start doing it today. Because right now, that's how you build the image of the person that they know, like, and trust. That's how you build trust, awareness, and respect of those who might buy. That's how you become their friend. That's how you become the person that they go to when they're not quite sure if what they're looking at makes sense. That's how you get there. And right now is the best time to do it, by showing that you're a human who's a father, a son, a husband, who truly gets them as a human, and talk to them like one. This is the time.
It truly is. Thank you for that, Jamie. And I'll say, are you doing any live events coming up? I know I've seen you on a couple around Facebook. Do you have anything else coming up?
Well, I mean, I've been jumping into the various webinars, like Ken Patterson of Pax8 and Lori Tisney. And I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, Lori, with the IT Owners Compass. She has been, they've been doing a webinar on Tuesdays and Thursdays that I jump in, and, something relevant that I can add value to, I jump in and I kind of give guidance there.
Absolutely, yeah.
As well as, partnering with different thought leaders in the industry. to kind of get that message out. Like I plan on doing something with Bob Howard over at Contact Science as well to cover some of this in the not too distant future. So, yes, there's a lot of different things that I'm jumping into, because right now I want to make sure that right now is the time we can change we can change the way MSPs charge. Right now we're at a point where MSPs they can either continue to do business as usual, where the customer tells them what they think that they can afford and what they think they need based on that. But right now is a really good time to start getting customers to see that this is what they need, because your IT is only as good as your worst day.
It's very true. It's very
so
true.
Right now we can set the stage for becoming a utility, becoming an unmovable force in their world that they compromise around, not using your monthly fee as something that can be shaved off, just like their rent, just like their lights, their gas. Right now is a time when you can set that precedent and change the way that companies are doing business with you. So now is a really important time.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that you are out there helping MSPs right now. I feel like I'm helping / entertaining because I feel like a lot of MSPs are stressed right now. So I'm trying to add a little bit of a lighter air as I talk with people. So I appreciate you playing along, if you will.
Oh no, it's a blast. I mean, are you kidding me? This was a ton of fun.
It was.
You can invite me in anytime. I'll be happy to shoot the breeze with you. That's fine.
Well, good. So, guys, check out brandiva.com, brandiva.com. Jamie does limit herself on how many partners or clients or whatever you want to refer to them as, but she does limit herself because she's only got so much of herself to give, right?
And I want to give 100% I want to give every client that I have the attention that they need to learn as quickly as possible. I don't want managed service providers to be with me for a long time. I want them to get on their feet, get rolling, get productive. And if they need me to put in their customer service process after they've punched through that wall, that's fine. But unlike the other companies, I don't want you to be with me for a long time. I want you to get the information, the skills that you need, and get comfortable with the process so that you can move forward. Because this is not a service that I want that should be a long-term one.
Right.
So, in addition to that, oftentimes with my clients, if they get 12 hours a month, and sometimes if they go over 2 or 3 hours that month, I don't charge them. So I like to keep a little extra time, because I want to give you the time that you need, not necessarily what you paid for, because just like you guys, I'm a human too. So I try to treat each one of my clients like they're business owners, that uncertainty is looming, and treat them to the best of my ability. I want to be somebody that they refer.
And I think you are, Jamie. You're a genuine person. You obviously fight for what you believe in and what you stand for, and I appreciate that, and I respect that about you. And I just thank you for coming on. So guys, check out brandiva.com, and if you're interested in a peer group for your MSPs, check out RocketMSP.io. I have weekly or monthly peer groups available to MSPs of all sizes. Thanks so much, Jamie. I'll see you guys at the next one.
Take care. Stay safe out there.
Stay healthy.